Right then, let's have a proper chat, shall we? Picture this for a moment. You're standing at a crossroads, quite literally, metaphorically, every which way you can imagine. Left path looks safe, comfortable, predictable. Right path? Absolutely terrifying, but somehow it's calling your name. Which way do you go? Now, here's the thing that's rather fascinating about the human brain, isn't it? We make roughly 35,000 decisions every single day. 35,000. And yet, most of us haven't got the foggiest idea why we choose what we choose, especially when it comes to risk. Welcome back to the channel, lovely people. If you're new here, we break down brilliant books into stories that actually make sense. No jargon, no waffle, just pure practical wisdom you can use straight away. Today, we're diving deep into Michele Wucker's absolutely cracking book, You Are What You Risk. And I'm not going to lie to you, this one genuinely changed how I think about, well, everything really. But rather than boring you with theory and academic bits, I'm going to tell you the story of someone called James Harrison. 32 years old, lives in Manchester, works in finance. And mate, his relationship with risk was properly broken. This is the story of how he fixed it. It's 6:30 in the morning, mid-November, and Manchester's doing what Manchester does best. It's absolutely chucking it down. James Harrison is sat at his kitchen table in his modest flat in Didsbury, scrolling through property listings on Rightmove for what must be the 100th time this month. There's a half-drunk cuppa going cold next to him, and the rain's proper hammering against the windows. He should be getting ready for work. Instead, he's frozen. Again. You see, James has been doing the same job at the same investment firm in Spinningfields for 7 years now. 7 years. Same desk, same view of the Beetham Tower, same commute on the Metrolink, same everything. He's not unhappy, exactly, but he's not happy either. He's just existing. You know the feeling. His girlfriend of 3 years, Sophie, has been dropping hints about moving in together. His best mate from uni, Tom, keeps banging on about this business idea they've had since their student days. A sustainable investment consultancy for small businesses up north. And James? James does what James always does. Absolutely nothing. He tells Sophie he needs more time to think about it. He tells Tom the timing isn't quite right. He tells himself he's being sensible and responsible. But here's the thing that James hasn't realized yet, and this is the first massive lesson from Wucker's book. By choosing not to risk, you're already making a risky choice. Let me say that again because it's proper important. Doing nothing is a risk. James thinks he's playing it safe, yeah? Staying in his comfortable job, keeping his comfortable flat, maintaining his comfortable routine. But what he doesn't see is that every single day he's not making a decision, time's making it for him. The property market's going mental. His relationship with Sophie's getting strained. Tom's starting to look for other partners. Comfort? That's not comfort, mate. That's slow-motion self-sabotage. And it all came crashing down on one absolutely rubbish Tuesday in January. James is sat in Costa Coffee near Piccadilly Gardens, hands wrapped around an overpriced flat white, opposite his older sister Charlotte. Charlotte's 41, runs her own marketing agency in Leeds, and has always been what their mum calls the brave one, which, quite frankly, has always wound James up something chronic. "You've not changed, have you?" Charlotte says, not unkindly. "Still waiting for permission." "Permission from who?" James asks, getting properly defensive now. "From yourself, you numpty." She slides a book across the table, dog-eared, covered in highlighter marks, clearly been read about 15 times. "Read this," she says. "Helped me understand why I take the risks I do, and more importantly," she pauses, gives him that older sister look, "why you don't." The book, of course, is You Are What You Risk. Now, that night, James starts reading, and the first concept that absolutely wallops him right in the face is what Wucker calls your risk fingerprint. Your risk fingerprint is your unique personal relationship with risk. It's shaped by everything: your childhood, your culture, your experiences, your brain chemistry, the lot. And here's the brilliant bit. There's no objectively right level of risk tolerance. What matters is understanding your fingerprint and whether it's actually serving you or holding you hostage. James starts thinking about his upbringing. His dad, a lovely bloke, worked at the same engineering firm in Stockport for 38 years. 38 years. Same commute, same colleagues, same everything, until they made him redundant 6 months before his planned retirement. His mum always said things like, "Better the devil you know," and "Don't rock the boat," and "Be grateful for what you've got." And suddenly, James sees it. Crystal clear. He's been operating on a risk fingerprint that isn't even his. It's inherited, passed down like a dodgy family heirloom nobody actually wanted. But here's where it gets really interesting. James also remembers that when he was 19, he spontaneously booked a solo backpacking trip across Southeast Asia. No plan, minimal money, just pure adventure. And it was the best 3 months of his life. That person still exists inside him, the risk-taker, the adventurer. He's just buried under years of learned caution. Wucker writes something that stops James dead. The risk you're most afraid to take is usually the one you need to take most. Heavy stuff that, but proper true. James looks up from the book. It's 2 in the morning. His cold, flat white sits abandoned, and for the first time in years, something shifts. 2 weeks later, James has read the entire book twice now. He started keeping what he calls a risk journal, writing down every decision he avoids and trying to understand why. The patterns are, well, they're embarrassing, honestly. But it's a Friday evening conversation with Sophie that delivers the next massive breakthrough. They're in a proper nice restaurant in the Northern Quarter. Exposed brick, craft beer, the works. Sophie's ordered the Thai green curry. James has gone for fish and chips because apparently he's pathologically afraid of culinary risk as well. "Can I ask you something?" Sophie says, pushing her food around her plate. "Course." "Why are you so scared of us?" James puts his fork down. "I'm not scared of us. James, every time I mention moving in together, you physically tense up. Every time I talk about the future, you change the subject. Do you actually want this? Want us?" And here's the moment of truth. James thinks about what he's learned from Wucker, specifically about risk as a relationship, not a transaction. See, most of us treat risk like it's a one-time deal. You either take the risk or you don't. Binary, simple. But Wucker argues it's much more nuanced than that. Your relationship with risk is ongoing, dynamic, evolving. It affects every relationship in your life, with people, with money, with your career, with yourself. And here's the kicker. How you handle risk with others tells you everything about how you value those relationships. James looks at Sophie, really looks at her. He's been so focused on protecting himself from potential future pain that he's causing actual present pain. To her, to them. James starts, I think I've been so scared of things going wrong that I've stopped letting them go right. Sophie reaches across the table, takes his hand. What would it take for you to not be scared? Honestly, I think I need to stop seeing you as a risk to be managed and start seeing you as a risk worth taking. It's not a proposal, it's not a massive declaration, but it's a start, a proper start. 3 weeks later, they sign a lease on a flat together in Chorlton. Nothing massive, nothing dramatic, but for James, it's seismic. Right, here's where things get really interesting. It's March now. James and Sophie have been living together for about 6 weeks. It's going brilliantly. Turns out actually taking a risk sometimes leads to good things. Who knew, eh? But James is still stuck at his job. And that's when he encounters what might be the most powerful concept in Wucker's entire book, the grey rhino. Now, you've probably heard of black swans, yeah? Those unpredictable, rare events that blindside everyone. Grey rhinos are the opposite. They're the highly probable, high-impact threats that we see coming from miles away and do absolutely nothing about. Climate change? Grey rhino. That weird noise your car's been making for 3 months? Grey rhino. The slowly deteriorating job market for traditional finance roles? Massive grey rhino. And James's grey rhino is charging directly at him. Monday morning, James is called into his manager's office. Bloke called Graham, been there forever, knows where all the bodies are buried, probably buried a few himself. James, take a seat. The news isn't good. The company's restructuring. Graham says the word like it doesn't mean exactly what it means. Nothing's definite yet, Graham assures him. But I wanted to give you a heads up. Start thinking about your options. James walks out of that office in a daze, takes the lift down to ground floor, steps outside into the grey Manchester drizzle, and laughs. Actually properly laughs. Because here's the beautiful, ridiculous irony. He's been so scared of taking risks that he's ignored the massive risk right in front of him. The grey rhino of his industry changing, his skills becoming less relevant, his safety net developing massive holes. He calls Tom that afternoon. "All right, mate, you know that business idea we've been banging on about for years? The sustainable investment thing? Yeah, of course. I think it's time we stopped talking and started doing." Silence on the other end. "Bloody hell, James, you serious?" "Never been more serious in my life. See, here's what Wucker teaches about grey rhinos. The longer you ignore them, the harder they hit. But here's the flip side. The sooner you acknowledge them, the more options you have. James isn't reacting to getting sacked. He hasn't been made redundant yet. He's responding to a threat while he still has choices. And that makes all the difference. Right, quick pause in James's story here because I want to say something. If you're finding this useful, if James's journey is resonating with you at all, do me a massive favor and hit that subscribe button, yeah? We put out new videos every week breaking down books that can genuinely change how you think, and I'd love to have you as part of this community. Also, if you want to go deeper, get exclusive content, early access, that sort of thing, check out the membership options in the description below. Helps keep the lights on, helps me keep making content like this. Right, back to James. 6 months later, September, James's life is barely recognizable. He and Tom have launched their consultancy, Northern Impact Investments. Small office space in Ancoats, more ambition than clients, but it's theirs. Sophie's been incredibly supportive. Turns out she fell in love with the spontaneous backpacker version of James, not the terrified finance drone version. Who knew? But here's the thing about risk. It's not a one-and-done situation. James has made the big leap, yeah? Started the business, moved in with Sophie, completely transformed his life. Brilliant. But Wucker warns about something critical. The risk-relationship spectrum. Essentially, we all exist somewhere on a spectrum. On one end, you've got risk-averse, classic James from the start of this story. On the other end, you've got risk-seeking, people who chase danger for the thrill of it. Neither extreme is healthy. And here's what James starts noticing. In overcoming his risk aversion, he started swinging too far the other way. He's in the office with Tom, 3 espressos deep, pitching a massive expansion plan they definitely can't afford. "We could go after corporate clients down in London," James is saying. "Open a second office, hire like 10 people, go big." Tom looks concerned. "Mate, we've been running for 6 months. We've got 4 clients. Maybe we should, I don't know, learn to walk before we try to sprint." "But that's the old me," James insists. "Playing it safe, not taking risks." Tom sighs. There's a difference between taking smart risks and being a reckless idiot. Ouch. But Tom's right, and deep down, James knows it. Wucker makes this crucial distinction. Risk tolerance isn't about saying yes to everything. It's about saying yes to the right things. The goal isn't to become fearless. The goal is to become fear-intelligent. James goes home that night, sits with Sophie, and admits something hard. I think I've been so scared of going back to who I was that I'm becoming someone just as unbalanced. Sophie, wise as ever, responds, "Babe, growing isn't about replacing your old self with a new self. It's about integrating all the parts of you into something fuller." James thinks about that for a long time. His cautious side isn't the enemy, it's valuable. It kept him from doing properly stupid things when he was younger. The problem was when it took over completely. The solution isn't to kill it, it's to partner with it. The next day, James and Tom create a risk framework for their business. Clear criteria for when to be bold and when to be cautious. Not instinct, strategy. It works. 1 year later. James is 34 now. The business is doing well. Not world-conquering, but sustainable, profitable, growing steadily. Proper northern success story. Sophie and James got engaged last month. Small ceremony planned. Just family and close friends. Nothing flashy. But the real transformation isn't in the circumstances. It's in James himself. He's at his nephew's 5th birthday party in Chester. His sister Charlotte corners him by the cake table. "You look different," she says. "I've lost a bit of weight, maybe..." "No, not that. You look lighter. Like you're not carrying something anymore." James thinks about that. "Remember that book you gave me about risk?" Charlotte smiles. "Changed your life, did it?" "It changed how I understand my life, which honestly, that's the same thing, isn't it?" Here's what James has learned, and this is the ultimate lesson from Wucker's book. You are what you risk. Not just the risks you take, the risks you don't take, the risks you understand, the risks you ignore. Your relationship with risk defines your relationships with people, your career trajectory, your financial health, your mental well-being, your sense of who you actually are. James used to think he was just a cautious person, like it was genetic, unchangeable. But it wasn't him. It was a pattern, a learned behavior. And learned behaviors can be unlearned, relearned, transformed. He looks around the party. His mum and dad, still together after 40 years. His dad retired now, finally enjoying life. Sophie chatting with his mum, fitting in perfectly. Tom over in the corner, probably boring someone about ESG metrics. All of this, every single bit of it, is here because James stopped running from risk and started dancing with it. Not recklessly, not fearlessly, but intelligently, deliberately, courageously. Right then, lovely people. Let's bring this home. James's story is fictional, but I'd bet my last tenner that bits of it resonated with you. Because we've all got our risk fingerprints, our grey rhinos, our patterns of avoidance and fear. Here are the key takeaways from You Are What You Risk. Number 1, understand your risk fingerprint. Figure out where your relationship with risk comes from. Is it serving you? Or is it inherited programming that needs updating? Number 2, inaction is still a choice. Doing nothing feels safe, but time keeps moving. Not deciding is still deciding, usually for worse outcomes. Number 3, watch for grey rhinos. What's the obvious threat you're pretending not to see? Name it, face it, act before it flattens you. Number 4, balance is the goal. You don't want to be reckless or paralyzed. Aim for risk intelligence, strategic, thoughtful, considered courage. Number 5, risk defines relationships. How you handle risk with others shows them how much you value them. Your risk patterns are visible to everyone around you. And finally, you are what you risk. So, what are you? More importantly, What do you want to be? That's the question worth sitting with. If you enjoyed this, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me what's one risk you've been avoiding that you know you need to take. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, yeah? Cheers.